The morning sun was soft over the quiet suburban street, filtering through the curtains of the Morris home. Inside, laughter once danced freely through every corner, the laughter of a couple who believed nothing could ever come between them. Daniel and Olivia Morris had been married for 40 years, and in that time, they'd built what looked like a perfect life. A cozy home in Maryland, a small garden Olivia tended lovingly, and a baby boy who completed their world. Their love had started like something out of a movie. College sweethearts who became best friends before they became lovers. Daniel used to write her little notes and leave them under her pillow. Olivia would sneak to his office with lunch packed in a brown bag and a handwritten, "I love you more than yesterday." For years, they were the couple everyone admired, affectionate, faithful, and inseparable. But life, as it often does, had other plans. It started 6 months after Olivia gave birth to their son, Liam. The pregnancy had been difficult, and the recovery even harder. She battled fatigue, infection, and endless doctor's visits. For 6 long months, Olivia could barely stand without feeling weak. Her bright face turned pale, her laughter became quiet sighs. Daniel was there, at first. He cooked, cleaned, and cared for Liam, though clumsily. He stayed up through the nights, whispering comfort to his wife, promising she'd be fine. But slowly, something in him began to change. He stopped coming home early. He started sleeping with his phone face down. The tender "I love you" became "I'm busy, Liv." And the man who once swore to protect her heart began to break it in silence. It began, as most betrayals do, quietly. A like here, a comment there. A message that started with, "Hey, it's been ages." Her name was Samantha, Daniel's ex from college, the one he courted before Olivia. She found him on social media, newly a father, recently distant, and emotionally vulnerable. She messaged him one evening congratulating him on his son. He replied. Then again, and again. Soon they were talking every day, laughing, reminiscing, flirting. Olivia noticed the change. The scent of unfamiliar perfume, the constant texting, the known smiles, the way his eyes no longer lingered on her, the silence that filled their once warm home. Then she tried all she could, even pushing herself harder than she could bear, just to get his attention. Until, one night, when he didn't return home until dawn, she sat at the edge of their bed and whispered to herself, "He's not mine anymore." It continued that way. Sometimes he stays out for a day or two. Months passed. Daniel's absences grew longer. His guilt turned into irritation. His lies became easier to tell. One night, after an argument, he stormed out and didn't come back for 2 days. When he finally returned, he said, "Liv, I think we need space. You're not the same anymore. You're not the woman I married." Those words shattered her. She stared at him, the man who once held her hand through labor, the man who promised in sickness and in health. And now here he was, leaving because she had fallen sick. When he walked out that night, the silence he left behind was deafening. She sat alone for hours, tracing his smile on their wedding photo with trembling fingers, wondering how love could turn to indifference so fast. Daniel left fully a month later, this time with his bags packed. He didn't even say goodbye properly. He simply said, "You'll be fine, Liv. You're strong. I'll support you and my son from wherever I am," and walked out. She stood there, baby in her arms, watching him disappear down the driveway, her tears falling onto Liam's tiny blanket. That night when she put Liam to sleep, she sat on the kitchen floor and cried until her voice gave out. It wasn't just heartbreak. It was betrayal, abandonment, loneliness. Every room echoed with the ghost of what used to be. Every photo felt like mockery. And the bed, their bed, felt too wide for one.
Grief became her companion. She moved through the house like a shadow. Sometimes she caught herself checking her phone, hoping for a message. There was never one. At first, he was sending money for their needs, which was even barely enough. After some time, he stopped. He completely disconnected and kept himself out of reach. Sometimes she tried calling him just to see if he'd pick up and come back to them, but it never connected. Everywhere she looked, she saw him. Friends stopped calling, except for Rachel, not because they didn't care, but because they didn't know what to say. Rachel would always call, visit, and help as much as she could. She was like a pillar throughout those stormy days. Family told her to be strong, but strength didn't pay bills. Strength didn't stop the tears at 2 a.m. Some nights, she curled up beside Liam's crib, crying quietly into his baby blanket, until exhaustion pulled her into sleep. There were mornings she didn't want to get up, but she did because her baby needed her. And one afternoon, while feeding Liam, she whispered, "I'll be everything you need, even if it breaks me." And that was the day she began to fight again. Olivia started small. She began freelancing, typing late into the night while Liam slept. She joined a women's support group where she met others who had been left behind, and for the first time, she didn't feel alone. She began to heal, slowly. Some days she smiled, some days she cried, but every day she moved a little closer to peace. She rebuilt her confidence. She started dressing up again, laughing again, believing again. And little by little, she stopped asking, "Why did he leave?" and started saying, "Thank God I survived." Her life started getting better. Meanwhile, Daniel's new life wasn't the paradise he imagined. For the first few years, it was just as he envisioned. Samantha was caring, smoky hot, flirty, and wild. She made him feel young and whole. They traveled at every giving opportunity, posted their pictures on different social media platforms. Olivia sometimes saw them on Rachel's phone. She never tried to reach out again. She just looked and smiled. But after a few years, Samantha became fiery. Also, she was jealous, manipulative, and insecure. Their love quickly turned into a battlefield. She accused him of still loving Olivia, and deep down, she was right. Within this few years, Samantha had drained his savings, emptied his heart, and left him broken. She was hardly home, and even when she was always on her phone. One day, he sat alone in a small room in the apartment they shared, scrolling through old photos of Olivia and Liam. When she saw it, she got physical with him. She broke his phone, hit him, and verbally attacked him. That was when he finally realized he had traded diamonds for dust. 4 years later, Daniel showed up at Olivia's office. He looked older, thinner, defeated. "Liv, I made a mistake." She looked up from her desk, and for the first time, she felt nothing. "I'm sorry. I really am. I lost everything. Samantha's gone. Please, can we try again?" She stood up slowly, meeting his eyes. "Daniel, I forgave you a long time ago, But forgiveness doesn't mean waiting. He swallowed, his voice shaking. Can we at least start over for Liam? She smiled sadly. For Liam, yes, as their parents. But as for us, that chapter is closed. She turned and walked away, heels clicking against the floor, each step echoing her freedom. Months later, Olivia stood on stage at a women's conference, sharing her story, not as a victim, but as a victor. The crowd was silent, some smiling, others crying softly, because in her words, they saw themselves. And on a quiet Sunday morning, Olivia sat in her garden, sipping tea as Liam played nearby. Sunlight kissed her face, the breeze was gentle, and for the first time in years, she felt whole. She looked at her son and whispered, "Thank you, God, for every storm that brought me here." Because she had learned that not every storm comes to destroy. Some come to clear your path. And as she watched Liam run across the grass, laughing freely, she smiled. A woman who had once been broken, now whole, healed, and at peace. If you've ever been betrayed, abandoned, or left behind, remember, pain is not your ending. It might break you, but it will also build you if you let it. Because sometimes you have to lose someone you thought you needed to find the person you were meant to be.